this is Stephanie. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to work on this bracelet, and this is the Sweet Citrus bracelet. And I made that in response to a lot of requests after you made the Sweet Citrus pendant and necklace. So you asked for a bracelet, so here it is. I normally make things that will go with, but they're standalones as well, I believe. So here's the bracelet. Really pretty component bracelet. I love these colors. These beads are from Eureka Crystal Beads Summer Citrus collection, but you don't have to have the collection to make this. Go through your stash. These are pretty standard beads that you probably already have in your stash, or pick your colors that you love and you can order those. So one thing about it is that it's reversible. I didn't intend for it to be reversible, but so I did the front, and as I was doing, working on it, and I attached the units and I did the back, I thought, gee, this is all completely finished back here, so you could reverse this. And I'll show you how to do that later on in the video. So really pretty. Had so much fun making it. I love these colors. Really, really gorgeous citrusy colors. All right, so I'm going to clear this off. We'll get a materials list going and we'll get started. Materials list going. So you need some 8mm Chatons. Now I don't happen to have the correct amounts out here. I just have samples of what you'll need and the colors I used. Everything, if you want sizes, shapes, colors, amounts, everything will be in the description box below the video. So click that down arrow or the more, and just keep clicking until that box opens. There's so much info in there. Lots of things that, maybe a coupon code, there might be a sale that I know of. And if you want to know all the beads and you want links to find them, they'll be down there as well. Okay, so I've got some 8mm Chatons. I've got some 6mm pearls. I have two colors of Super Duos. I've got some 8/0 seed beads. Here, I've got some 11/0 seed beads. I've got some 3mm bicones, 3x2mm rondelles. I've got a delica or a treasure here. Over here, I've got some 15/0 seed beads. I've got a bugle bead. I'm using 6-pound fire line. I have a needle case with all different size needles in it. I've got a toggle clasp. Now, you'll see when we make it reversible that you can add 2 rings of 2 different toggle clasps. So I took it off this one, but you can add another ring here and a charm. I put a charm at the end of the second ring, or just so it looked finished. And that way it makes it a little bit bigger so that you can wear it on both sides, or which is really good, if you add more rings, it will make a bracelet adjustable. So if you're making a gift and you don't know what size to make, you can put rings at the end if you're using a toggle clasp, and a charm in the last ring, on the last ring, and you'll have an adjustable clasp. So that way, you don't have to worry so much about fit. All right, a little stop bead should go in there. Let's say this is a little stop bead. All right, so let's get started. So thread your needle with about 40 inches of thread, put on a stop bead, and leave enough of a tail to sew in. So I've picked up and dropped down to my stop bead a Super Duo and 11/0, and I did that 4 times. Just like so. I'm going to sew these into a circle by sewing through the first bead after my stop bead. And I'm just going to go all the way around, just to reinforce. So I've sewn all the way around to reinforce, getting past a little bit where my stop bead was, and I've exited the bottom hole of one of my Super Duos. I'm going to sew through the top hole of that Super Duo. Then I'm going to pick up my other color Super Duo, I'll show you in a second, 11/0 and this other color Super Duo. So I'm using, the cream color on the bottom, the sort of ruby color in the next round. So I'm just going to sew through the next top hole of the next Super Duo. Do that again. Super Duo, 11/0, Super Duo. And just sew through the top hole of the next Super Duo. This is what it looks like so far. So do that 2 more times. Last Super Duo, 11/0, Super Duo. Exiting here. I'm going to sew through the top hole of this Super Duo and the bottom hole of that red one. So just like that. Sew around a little bit to reinforce. Careful you don't get your tail thread caught like I did. Get that out of there. There we go. And so you want to be exiting the bottom hole of a super duo. So I'm exiting this one right here that is after this cream colored super duo. I'm just going to sew through the top hole of that same super duo. I'm going to pick up a 2 by 3 millimeter rondelle. So there are two openings here we're going to be filling. So the one where your thread is coming out, you have a super duo, the red super duo, here's the cream one and the red one, and the other area you have a super duo, 11-0 super duo. So when you are exiting here, you're going to put a rondelle. When you're exiting with this area to fill in, you're going to pick up an 11-0, a 3 millimeter bicone, and an 11-0. You're going to sew through the top hole of the next super duo. And you're just going to repeat that all the way around. So now we're at the rondelle. And then 11-0, 3 millimeter bicone, 11-0. With the top hole of the next super duo. And you're just going to alternate all the way around. Going down to the end, I'm going to pick up an 11-0, 3 millimeter bicone, and an 11-0. I'm going to sew through the top hole of the super duo. I'm going to keep moving my needle through the next few beads, so through the rondelle, the next super duo, the next 11-0. I just want to sort of move the thread over a little bit to kind of secure this round. So I'm just going to go through several beads. My goal is to come out of a rondelle, but not so close to where I ended my, where I ended my round. So I'm just going to maybe come over to this one. That's what it looks like. I'm going to pick up an 11-0, an 8-0, and an 11-0. I'm exiting this rondelle. I'm just going to skip over to the next one and sew through that one. I'm going to make sure those beads come in front of where the bicone is. See that? So again, 11-0, 8-0, 11-0. Exiting this rondelle, I'm going to sew through this one. Just pulling it so that it pulls those beads together. See that? I'm going to do that 2 more times. Don't tighten the last one. We'll put our stone in. So I'll meet you back in a minute. Done 3 sides. Now I'm going to pop my stone in like that, and I'm going to put on my last 11-0, 8-0, 11-0. I'm going to sew through that original rondelle that I first put on, I first went through. And I'm just going to push all the beads in front, and I'm going to give it a little pull. So tighten that up a little bit, just like that. So I'm exiting this rondelle. I'm going to advance my needle through the next 11-0, 8-0, 11-0. It's going to set me up to put some more beads on. Now I'm going to pick up a cylinder bead, so Telica or Treasure, and I'm going to sew through the next group of 3, the 11-0, 8-0, 11-0, so this group right here. It's going to place that cylinder bead right in front of that rondelle. Do that again. Cylinder bead, exiting here. I'm going to sew through these 3. Get that bead right there. So you're going to do that 2 more times, and then you can reinforce this whole round. Just coming down to my last cylinder bead, so just sewing through that last group like that, so everything is on, pulling it in a little bit, and now just reinforce all the way around. Reinforced all the way around, and I'm exiting an 11-0 that's right, this in this group of 3, so 11-0, 8-0, 11-0, and then you'll see the rondelle sort of right here, right before the Delica. So just want to sew through that rondelle. Just want to get to the outside of my unit. Now, just a note, when I came around earlier and I tried a different rondelle, it was a little tight getting through, so I just moved around a little more until I found one of the rondelles, one of the 4 that was a little bit easier to get through. My tension might have been super tight in that one spot. Okay, so I'm coming out of the rondelle. I'm going to sew through the super duo. You can always change your needle size too. And the 11-0 and the bicone, just like that. Exiting the 3mm bicone on the side here, I'm going to pick up an 11-0 and 8-0, 11-0, the 3mm bicone, an 11-0, 8-0, and 11-0, and I'm going to, so let's say this is just one unit right here. I'm just going to sew through the bicone on this unit like that. So I'll pretend these aren't here. So just like that. And then I'm just going to repeat that on the other side. 11-0, 8-0, 11-0, 3mm bicone, 11-0, 8-0, 11-0, and here I'll show you. So this is what I have. So exiting this bicone, I'm just going to sew through the bicone on this side. And just like that. So we're setting up to put that connection on. See that? So then we'll just continue on with that connection. So here we go. So now I just want you to reinforce this a little bit. So I'm just going to come through all the beads, and I'll just let you go off and do this. So just like that, you're just going to keep coming around and exit this bicone on the other side. Reinforced, I actually went ahead past this one, and I just reinforced all the way around and came out this bicone. Doesn't matter, either one is fine. So now I'm going to pick up my 6mm pearl. I'm exiting here. I'm going to sew through the bicone going in the same direction. So see how I'm coming out here? I'm going through here. So just like that. And then you're exiting this bicone, you're going to sew down through the pearl again. So you have a thread coming out of both ends of the pearl. You know, two threads, so it's kind of wrapping around. So here, so you see how that is a thread coming out of here and a thread coming out of here. And then you want to make sure you do the same thing on this side. You're going to come through the bicone this way. And that's going to add your pearl on, just like that. So this is what it looks like so far. You're exiting the bicone. I'm just going to move my needle over to this bicone. You know, I just like to sort of complete the round by going through a little bit again, just to make sure it's nice and secure. Now I'm going to pick up one of my bugle beads, and I'm finding the prettiest ones. And I'm exiting this bicone. I'm going to sew through the next bicone, and you want to make sure that bugle bead is going to stay in front. Give it a little pull, just like that. Do it again. Find a pretty one. Sew through this bicone. So we're just adding a bugle bead in between the bicones. So just like that. So do that 2 more times. Last one. And what I meant by pretty bugle bead, I mean ones that aren't cracked and that have pretty straight sides. Sorry, I'm going to go through the last bicone. And just be careful when you pull these bugle beads. You want to pull them, but you want to just make sure that you don't want them to cut the thread because they're pretty sharp. Right? So I'm exiting this bicone. I'm just going to sew through that first bugle bead that I put on. Just like that. Okay, this is what I have so far. I'm going to pick up 2 15-0s. Exiting the bugle bead, I'm going to sew through the next bugle bead. So I'm placing 2 15-0s in between each bugle bead. So like that. That again. Again. One more time. Come all the way around to that last bugle bead, put on your 2, and then I want you to exit the first 15-0 after that bugle bead. The lights down a little bit because it was a little glary. So I'm exiting in between 2 15-0s. I'm going to pick up a 15-0 and I'm going to sew through the next 15-0, bugle bead, and 15-0. So I'm just adding a third 15-0 there, but I'm putting it on now instead of in the beginning. And it's going to sort of pop up a little bit. I don't know if it's all that necessary, but I kind of like the way it looks. So, you know, you can decide whether you want to do that or not. You can just tighten it up just with the 2 on there. So picking up my 15-0, sewing through, exiting that 15-0, sewing through the next 15-0, bugle bead and 15-0, and just make sure you tighten yours up really well. Sometimes it's not easy to as easy to tighten up when I'm doing it on camera. So here you're exiting the 15-0, the 15-0 in between those two 15-0s, and exit the 15-0 like that. And one more time, 15-0 through the 15-0, bugle bead, and like so. So now I am exiting a bugle bead, and I have a 15-0 in between each of the two 15-0s I originally put on. So this is what it looks like. Now what you're going to do is you're exiting that bugle bead, you're going to sew right through this bicone on the side, because we're headed to the excuse me, we're headed to the back now. So just like that. This is what it looks like so far. We've finished all the bugle beads and the 15-0s. We've come through that bicone on the side. I'm just going to turn my piece over, and I'm going to add a bugle bead in between each bicone on this side, so the same bicone. So exiting here, picking up a bugle bead, I'm going to sew through the bicone. Just make sure you want to make sure that that bugle bead sits in front. And I want see it wants to go to the other side, so you want it to sit right here. And what you can do is just kind of maneuver your thread so it comes out. It's coming out sort of the back of that bicone. So I'm just going to continue that all the way around. So bugle bead through the bicone. And sometimes if my needle wants to go through the bead after, I just go through and back out. It's just sometimes easier than trying to dig your way through. Making sure that pushes in front like that. And you're going to do that 2 more times. Adding my last bugle bead, back, just kind of push that in the front of the beads, like so, coming through the bicone. Now I'm going to sew right through that first bugle bead. And what I did on the back is I just put an 11-0 in between each of the bugle beads. You can, do it. You can put the 2 here if you want, but I just put 1. Like that. You can even do this on the other side. Whatever fits the best. You might need something a little bit bigger there, maybe the 8-0. However, if you do this very neatly, like you did the other side, let me just pull this together. And then you want to reinforce, of course. So you're going to put them all on and reinforce. And this is what it's going to look like. So here, this is what did we just do? We just did this, right? I think we're facing the other direction, but this is what we did. So when you're done adding all your units on, you can reverse this. So you see how you can wear it this way, and it's perfectly finished on this side, or you can wear it this way. I mean, I don't know why you would want to wear it without the pearls and those pretty crystals, but you can. I mean, if it's a casual day. Okay. All right, so get all your units done, get all your attachments on, and then come back and we'll add the clasp. Units done. And the way I ended, I put one end of the clasp on, but when I put the other end on with you, it's exactly the same way on both sides. So what I did is I ended with a larger unit, with the Chaton unit, and I didn't add the pearl connector here because I just like the way it looked more even to me this way when I turned my, when I put it around my wrist. So that's up to you. You can end any way you like. You can add on. It also depends on, what's going to fit your wrist. The way I'm extending this a little bit is by adding 2 rings for my clasp. So if you have a shorter wrist, you can clasp here with your toggle bar, or if you need more space, you can clasp here, and you can put like a little charm in the bottom here. Maybe I'll go find a charm and we'll put one there. So when it dangles, it looks pretty. So when you reverse this, let me just show you on my wrist, this side, back up a little bit, is going to be So when I bring my toggle bar around, see, it's going to go in the interior one. I have this extra one here as well. So that's how I'm going to connect it. So when I turn it on the other side, because it's almost like a pearl bracelet, right? The round side is against your wrist. You're going to take up a little more space. Do you see? So that I'll probably end up clasping here instead. So we'll see how it goes, but you see how you're going to need a little more space on this side. That's why I do the extender here. That way you can wear it either way. Okay, so all your units should be done, all connected. Measure it, make sure it's fitting on your wrist correctly. Thread a needle with, a couple of feet of thread. We're going to add the clasp on, and come back and we will add one end to the clasp. I'll show you how I prepared the clasp. So this one I put on already just to give you a look. So with the toggle ring, remember I put 2 rings together so I can adjust, and I'll put a charm here. And I added a jump ring at the end because I want to sew in this direction, so that's going to allow me to do that. On the toggle bar, I added a few rings, jump rings, and I'm again facing my last jump ring that's going to attach to my bracelet is going to be facing in this direction, like that, so I can attach it this way. So you can add as many, this is another way to extend it, you can add as many jump rings as you like. Okay, so prep your clasp and then we'll sew it on. So I've threaded my needle and put on a stop bead, left the tail to sew in, and I'm coming through this 11-0 and just through the bicone, right there at the end of my component. I'm going to pick up an 11-0, a rondelle, if I can grab it, and an 8-0. You can do any combination of beads here at the end, just as long as it fits. I'm going to come through the ring on my toggle bar. Turn it around so I'm going in the right direction. There we go. Then an 8-0, a rondelle, and an 11-0. And I'm going to sew through the other side of the bicone. This is what it looks like. You want to make sure you push that ring in between the 8-0s, and you're going to be very aware of keeping that ring in between the 8-0s and not on thread. And then you're just going to reinforce this all the way around. You can even do it twice if you want, and then just find somewhere to sew your threads in. Make sure it's nice and even and nice and looks good, because you're going to, if you want to reverse the bracelet, you can even sew put your knots in between, some of these beads on the attachment, the clasp attachment right there. Okay, so get that done on both ends and come back and we'll finish up. Okay, we're back and we're done. And I ended up taking one of my toggle rings off because I didn't need it. It was actually, the size was perfect. I added this charm, and this charm is just from a jewelry lot. I buy like lots of broken jewelry that you can get in a thrift store, you get at Goodwill, you can get them online, small lots, and they comes with all kinds of fun stuff that maybe is pretty vintage looking. So here's the rest of the bracelet. Here's this side, so pretty. I love it, and I even love this side. I think they're both really pretty. So just a note. If your my bracelet is slightly bigger when I wear it on this side, right? Because it's a little flatter to your skin, and when you wear it on this side, it's more like a pearl bracelet, right? So it's going to pop up a little bit and take up some space. You can always, take out a couple of beads here. You can make less of a length here. You can change how you can take out all of these beads and just put 2 on, and that's gonna, that will give you, make it a little bit shorter. However, you want to make sure you can, it's going to fit on both sides. So I don't mind if it's slightly larger on one side. It's not too large. Okay, so here you go. I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.